Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Ladyada, the engineer with me, Mr. Ladyada on camera control. We're broadcasting live from downtown Manhattan. That's where the Adafruit headquarters is. That's where we do all of our kitting and manufacturing and videoing and blogging and coding and making all the goodies that you love to make your electronic dreams come true. For the next hour or so, we're going to check in what's new, what's happening, videos, Python, NPI, top secrets, and more. Got a fun, packed show, Mr. Lady. To tell them the code and then tell them what we're going to be talking about tonight.
On tonight's show, the code is Power BFF, 10% off in Adafruit store all the way up till 11:59 p.m., including all the free stuff that you get. Use it or lose it. Adafruit Live, a bunch of shows we did. We just got off the air from Show and Tell. Amazing Show and Tell tonight. We had, well, we'll talk about it soon. From the tiniest things that you can see through a microscope to wearable LEDs. There was a lot of cool stuff this week. From this, Ladyada will be a little recap in from the Great Search and things we show over the weekend. Time travel, some site news, some updates from AdaBox, and more. We got some advanced manufacturing, made in New York City factory footage. We got a 3D printing speed up from Noah and Pedro. We've got some Ion MPI. This week is brought to you by DigiKey, of course, but it's NPS. We'll show and share that. Got some top secret, cool little hack that you can do with the Memento camera from Brent. Some new products. I'm going to answer your questions. We do that over Discord, adafruit.it/discord, discord.gg/adafruit. That's where we do it. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Dun, dun, dun.
So code is PowerBFF. Ladyada, what type of free stuff do they get?
Okay, we're still giving away freebies. When you order from the Adafruit shop online, we give you free stuff. $99 or more, you get a beautiful PCB coaster with a gold Adafruit logo and 4 little bumpers. Keep your hot drink or cold drink off your desk to keep it hot or cold and protect your desk. 149 or more orders get a free KB2040. It's a Pro Micro pinout compatible microcontroller board, but it features the RP2040 chip that runs dual Cortex M0s. It's got 8 megabytes of flash, USB-C, 2 buttons, NeoPixel, STEM QT. So it's great for kind of general purpose microcontroller projects, but also keyboards. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. It's trackable and it's insured, and it's UPS. And $299 or more, we're still giving away the Circuit Playground Express, our favorite all-in-one development board that's round and has capacitive touch and 10 NeoPixel LEDs and buttons and sensors. And it can run Arduino or code.org CS Discovery or MakeCode or CircuitPython. So it's a great way to get started with electronics and learning to code, but you don't need to do any soldering whatsoever. It's just out of the box, ready to rock.
Okay. And all that's available in addition to, don't forget, the code. It supports us, an open source hardware company. No venture funding, no loans. We're doing this on our own. We put everything out on the internet for free. Buy some electronics. That'll keep us going. We very much appreciate it. Okay, we do live shows. And on our live shows, we just got off the air a moment ago. We were hosting Show and Tell. This week, Jay from DigiKey stopped by with a really cool robot binary that blows bubbles.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was not expecting
It's a robot friend. Very, very cute. Very nice. Very interesting robot that you can probably see in person in some events. But also you can tune in Show and Tell and see what Jay's up to. And then Scott showed off some of the latest with CircuitPython 9.
Yes.
And you can watch Deep Dive this week if you want to see more of that. And then JP showed some cool time lapse that you can do with the Memento camera.
Talk about like camera hacking.
Yeah.
So it's a hackable camera.
Aaron showed off some very cool WLED projects that she's been working on. And then we saw some Sun and Moon Couture fashion show, incredible real-time updating of clothing that were LEDs. Absolutely amazing. And then we saw an ion
Yes,
microscope.
Electron scanning microscope.
Yeah, an ion microscope if you want to see a hole punched into a FPGA really close.
Well,
Absolutely amazing.
They can etch graphics on. They designed an open source board for
Yeah.
controlling these
Absolutely incredible
microscopes. And yeah, and it looked great. It was super cool and all written in Python.
Yeah.
So I'm psyched to see. We haven't seen these devices in quite a bit, so I'm glad they came back and they're like, no, we got them all working.
Yeah. So Show and Tell's every week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and you never know what's going to be on the Show and Tell. This is what it's amazing. It's like a mini maker fair. It's a science fair. It's some weeks we get retro stuff. Sometimes there's folks that have been working on things for over a decade. There's also kind of the latest, if you want to see a preview of what's going to be in New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
All those things are in the show and tell. So if you have stuff, come on by. You can watch 10 plus years of show and tell on any places we post videos, and it'll give you an idea of what's there. Everybody's welcome. Come on by.
Yeah.
On Sundays, we do From the Desk of Ladyada. It's in two parts, and the first part is from Ladyada's desk. What did you show off this week?
Okay, I shot off a bunch of upcoming designs, which I've just been cranking through. Stuff I couldn't make for the last couple of years because of the part shortages, and so old designs are getting kind of a fresh scrub and getting back into EagleCAD into the shop maybe. So the first one was a board based on the LT 4316. This is a really interesting chip that does on the fly I2C address translation. So you plug like I2C in and out, and the device will magically appear under a different I2C address. So make a little breakout for that. And then I made two breakouts for analog switches that are I2C controlled. One is quad SPST, and one is octal SPST, I think. And then I also did one that's a analog controlled, like a digital signal controlled analog switch, but can do 12 volts. So that was by request.
All right, and then we do the Great Search. That's when Ladyada users our powers of engineering to help you find things on digikey.com. Ladyada, what was Great Search this week?
Okay, so this week, because we were talking about analog switches, and like I said, we had a request for an analog switch that could be digitally controlled with a pin, just like high and low, to switch SPDT, like between a common and a normally open and normally closed, but it had to support 12 volt analog level signals. So not 5 volts, which is what the common analog switches do, like the I2C ones I showed off, but higher voltages. And so I showed how to find that on DigiKey. And we found one, and then I showed off the design. And I also showed some chips that wouldn't work because they were they were CMOS level, not TTL level. And so I wanted something that could be controlled from a 3.3 volt microcontroller.
Okay. And on Thursday is JP Workshop. You can stop by and see some of the camera stuff that JP is working on. And on a Friday, it might be Scott or to be Foamy Guy. 1 up deep dive, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can tune into learning all about kind of what goes into this big thing we like to call CircuitPython. Time travel.
Gonna go back in time.
Good timing. Someone in the chat is like,
Back
hey,
in time.
what's the latest with AdaBox? I am glad you asked because
Wow.
we have an AdaBox update.
Okay.
Yeah. What?
No, sorry, I thought we were doing something else first. But yes,
We were, but they're
but
I get a twofer.
it's a live show.
So if you go to adabox.com, you can see the latest update. We've been shipping out batches of AdaBox, so we've been able to get back to shipping AdaBox. It has been a long road because of the part shortage. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of AdaBox subscribers. So good news though is we don't charge until we ship out your AdaBox. So when we ship your AdaBox, if there's any issue with the payment or the address, we will contact you. We got some out at the end of 2023, which is just feels like a couple weeks ago, because it kind of was. And then we got out our batches in January. So we are shipping. Keep an eye on adabox.com. We can't tell you your place in it yet. Just know that we're shipping all these as fast as we possibly can. We'll ship them all.
But be sure to update your address and your credit card payment. Make sure it's valid.
To get ahead of it, yeah, we can do that.
Otherwise, there's it's gonna be delayed a couple more days as you get the notification it didn't go through and update it. Better just do it now if you want to make sure that you get it.
So it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And thanks for your patience. And we totally understand. Some folks are going to say like, I don't want to wait. I don't want this. Great. We have so many signups that we can't accept any more AdaBox subscribers until some people go. So if you don't want to do it, it's totally okay. If this is not your thing, it's totally okay.
Totally fun.
No hard feelings. One day we'll be able to expand how many subscribers we have, but we are still recovering from a couple years of having to redesign everything. How many redesigns are you up to?
637.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
So PCB thesis. Ship PCB of thesis.
No, I've redesigned every single board, so I don't even know. This is not really the same Adafruit that we were. This is a different one.
Yeah, so there's some boards, for instance, we have to get different suppliers for almost every part. AdaBoxes, we have the next few lined up. So we should be able to ship on, our quarterly basis, but thank you everyone who's stuck around. These are the folks that kind of are into the world of electronics, so they understand. We didn't want to quit doing it. We wanted to keep doing it. So that's the latest with AdaBox.
Yes.
Speaking of, if you log into your account, by the way, you'll start to notice we have more security features. So when you log into your account, you will get an email that says, hey, you've signed into your account. If anything sounds weird about this, like you didn't, please let us know. And here's a bunch of instructions. Y'all probably use lots of online sites. This is a pretty common security feature. You're going to hear about this more and more and more. Every single week, there's another, 5 billion login and passwords leaked out, malware, all that stuff. There's no security issues on Adafruit. It's just people use their login and password on multiple sites, and then those login and passwords go into the dark web and giant. The latest one was called the mother of all breaches, 9 billion login and passwords. And so there's
It's like more than the number of people on Earth.
yeah, some people they have 2 logins.
That's just funny. It's like,
so one of the things that we want to do though is if your account is logged into, you should get a notification. So that's what we added, just a security feature. So when you see it, that is what it is. We also have a guide with all this on there, so you can see it. You can turn off these notifications. I don't think you should, but if you want to, you can. And that means you wouldn't get an email, but it has good information. Here's the IP address. Here's the last time it was signed in. Here's the device that it was signed in on. So this is all useful things, especially if, you have an account issue, something comes up, wouldn't you want to know? A lot of social media sites do this. A lot of course, financial companies
it's
do
a
this.
really good idea.
We have 2-factor authentication, do all these things. It is what it is. The way,
Passkeys can't come fast enough.
yeah, it is what it is. So, okay. Another reminder, and this is on Adafruit Daily though. Tomorrow, the IoT Internet of Things Monthly is coming out. So if you go to adafruitdaily.com and sign up for it, this is the newsletter that the Adafruit IO team works on. We have this go out through Adafruit Daily. We don't like to have our newsletters on the same site as our store, so that's why we call it Adafruit Daily. It's a completely separate thing because once you sign up for something on a store website, they usually spam you and market to you. We decided we don't want to do that. If you want to see Adafruit stuff and buy Adafruit stuff, you know where to go, adafruit.com. This is just a newsletter. It's sponsor-free, it's ad-free. It's all the cool things that we see every month in the world of IoT, especially things you can make and build. So that is some of our news and updates and more. Let's do some Python on hardware, yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, Python on hardware this week. If you go to Adafruit Daily, you can check out our latest. This is the CircuitPython themed newsletter and Python on hardware themed newsletter. Little bit of reminder.
Do today.
This is the last day that you can get your requests in if you want to get things like, I want this feature in CircuitPython. We'll probably do it. You can go to adafruit.com/CircuitPython2024. You can email CircuitPython2024@adafruit.com. There's lots of stuff you can do. All the posts we collected here. You can see some of the things that you want to have included. IP over USB support. There's a lot of different projects that people have, and you can see what's interesting to them. So take a look at them, send it in, and we'll probably end up doing it. If you want to send to you, Adafruit Daily. But we are going to talk about something else this week, ladies.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. What did you want to talk about this week?
Okay. First off, UBC video is super cool. I think Jepler is going on a small break, but we'll be back. But Scott is going to help try to get this merged in. So on the RP2040 right now, we're going to work on other boards, but the RP2040, you can now have your device look like a webcam and you can draw to it. This is cool because now you can like capture images from an RP2040 chip. So you could have like a little DI webcam, but also you could have sensor data that comes in as like a graphical display, and then you merge that in with something else, and you can pipe that video data or grab it or reuse it, whatever. I think it's just neat. We can have with Teeny USB, we've had, mouse and keyboard, right? That's like the first thing. But then we added MIDI, and then we added like disk drive, and then we added like generic HID, and other things I can't remember off the top of my head, but other USB devices you could act like. But UVC is a standard. We were initially thought that you couldn't do this because you need to have high speed USB. Turns out you don't. You can do it with full speed. It's just not as fast. But like CircuitPython doesn't have gigantic display context anyway. So it's like, 240 by 320, and it sends it over, and you can see at the bottom that image was drawn by CircuitPython and piped in. So do some cool stuff. It's also really good for documentation because now we can screen grab what CircuitPython is drawing through the USB interface.
Okay.
Neat.
And you can check out all the stuff on the newsletter. We had our floppy drive preview. Tom's Hardware covered it.
Yeah.
You can take a look there. Making a drone using Raspberry Pi and Python. Ultimate list of Python YouTube channels. All the things that have something to do with Python and running on hardware.
This I thought was cool. So I am seeing more and more people use ChatGPT 4 in particular to code in Python. I'll say I do it all the time. I'm just like, oh man, I'm trying to think like what was I coding? Oh, like I'll have like some code from JavaScript. Like there was some internet connectivity code that I found that I had to adapt, and it was in JavaScript. I'll be honest, I haven't written JavaScript in like 10 years. So I used ChatGPT 4 and I said, hey, can you port this to Python 4 for me, or to Python for me? And it actually did a really, really good job. And I just had to do a couple tweaks here and there. But, I think people know that these LLMs hallucinate. They're not 100% trustworthy, but they can definitely shave a lot of time off of porting work or coding work if you want to like merge things together. So I think it's cool to see people using it and then explain to others like, hey, here's how to get good results out of these tools. So they're not your eternal savior for any coding issue, and they're not the worst thing you've ever seen. It's just another tool that if you know how to use it, can help you get your projects off the ground faster.
All right. And that is Python on hardware this week. Get it from Adafruit Daily. Sent to you spam free. You don't even need to sign up. You can read it on GitHub. You can read it on Adafruit Daily itself. All the different ways. Let's do some open source hardware news, which includes our guides. So Ladyada, let's pop over to learn.adafruit.com.
Yes.
And we have some new guides. What's on the big board this
Okay,
week?
so there's actually, you're going to see a bunch of the PyTFT stuff get updated. So I will mention this, and you see the little update. There you go, updated right there. So Melissa has done an amazing job going through and getting all of our displays for the Raspberry Pi working with Bookworm and the Raspberry Pi 5, which was not a trivial task. She spent like weeks on this. Because all the drivers change, and that, like the display manager change, like getting it just kind of working was one thing, but getting it all working was like non-trivial. So you'll see all the guides have been updated. If you're using Bookworm or the Raspberry Pi 5, believe us, we're going through and we're trying to get every piece of hardware working with it. Not everything. Like I think NeoPixels is still in progress because of the underlying GPIO change. But TFT is definitely
We're getting there.
Okay. Next up, can you click on the Memento camera board and then scroll down to CircuitPython Memento starter projects, and then scroll. So we've got time lapse. This is, and like we talked about this. This is from JP. He did a guide on using the new time lapse mode in for the Memento camera to make, like you saw, this cool
Yeah.
time lapse. And then also he wrote a page, frames to GIF, on how to take the JPEG images and use EasyGIF to combine it and turn it into an animated GIF for easy viewing, because it creates JPEGs, you have to merge them together. And then we also had a guide from Liz on using the CAN BFF board. And that's it. Next week's going to be a big guide. Some weeks you can see there's a lot of guides, and then some weeks
Yeah.
not as many. So then the CAN BFF guide and the new email, on new login, those
Yeah.
guides.
And then we also have Playground, so you can just click Playground up there, and you can see all the ones from the community
Yeah.
where folks have
The Space War thing is super cool, by the way. I really dug this. So this is a port of like the first video game to the MagTag. So check it out. The code is there. I think it's in CircuitPython, but I'll be honest, I didn't actually read the code. But I just love the idea of taking this old display and porting it over. And then yeah, we've got this like koozie So I guess this person has a lot of koozies. They have
Yep.
to store them.
So check it out. This is, your free place online where we don't have ads and we don't do any tracking. It's just for you to post your projects, and you don't have to have anyone log in to see all the steps. They can just look at your projects.
No ads.
And
Do not track is, as you said.
yeah, we also respect do not
Respect
track.
Do not track.
Yeah, so when we were showing these here, if you notice, what was
What's
the
the Circuit Python, and then you go down to the GIF. The time lapse.
time lapse? Yeah, if you notice, by the way, look, that's what it looks like. You probably don't see this on any website, so we support do not track. So you have to actually acknowledge, like, oh yeah, YouTube is probably not gonna, it's probably gonna want to know more about me. So our site respects do not track. That's why there's all those warnings. It says, hey, there's something else there, but you have to click through. So anyways, that is our open source hardware of the week this week. Over 2,700 guides, I think. I think we're up to almost 3,000. Let's do some factory footage. And that's factory footage. Let's go right to some 3D printing right away. This week we're going to do a speed up, and then we're going to roll right into Ion MPI. So let's print it. Okay, don't forget the code is Power BFF. All the free stuff, all that stuff. You can get both. Mix and match. It's totally okay. Let's do Iron MPI.
On MPI.
Ion MPI brought to you by DigiKey. This week is from MPS. Ladyada, what is the new product introduction of the week this week?
I'm glad you asked. This is MPS, which we've not done yet, so I'm psyched. I always love it when we have a new company to feature. MPS makes the MPM 3510 chip DC module, which we'll talk about. MPS stands for monolithic power systems, which is you might be wondering, like, wow, like a monolith.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes. They actually make things that are kind of like rectangular and black, and when you touch them, your designs get much better. Like you evolve, I guess. Dun dun Okay, so yeah, so MPS, they make a lot of stuff, but one of the things that I love them for is their step down converter modules, and these are all in one kind of. They look like chip. They're actually inside. There's an inductor and a chip, and a couple passives, and they make it really really easy for you to do a power supply that's very compact. So the 3510. When I saw this show up on digikey.com/new, I got excited because actually I was just a couple days ago I was looking for a chip like this. So this is a module that can take 4.5 to 36 volts, so like a fairly high voltage input, and then buck it down to as little as zero 0.8 volts to 36 volts at 1.2 amp continuous load current. And because it's DC-DC, there's no heat sink required. It's very compact, and the inductor, like I said, is built in, which makes it so tiny and small and easy to use because all you need is a couple passive components. So like normally on a buck converter, you would like need, there'd be like maybe a diode, or maybe you would be driving a transistor, or, this and that, or you need like a feed forward capacitor. All that stuff is taken care of for you. All you need is capacitive input, capacitor on the output, and then a resistor divider that tells it what voltage you want in the output. I originally saw this series of chips on the Nano Every from Arduino. I was like, what is that power supply that they've got there? So, this board needs to be very compact, very efficient, and they want a lot of current from their DC-DC supply. So they used an NPM 3610, which is like the earlier version of the 3510, but they're very similar. And we also made a breakout for the 3610. Like you said, give it V in up to, this one does 21 volts, the 3510 does up to 36 volts. And you see how compact it is. It's just a resistor divider. There's one extra pull-up resistor, and then two big bulk capacitors on the input and output, and you're pretty much ready to go, 1.2 amps output. You can check our design files. They're up on GitHub if you want to use them. But I also noticed DigiKey has a really nice new EDA footprint and 3D model page for almost every product. So on the product page, scroll down, look for where it says EDA models, click on it. And, this provided through Ultra Librarian and a couple other companies. You can export for whatever your CAD software is. So I use EagleCAD, but they also have KiCad, OrCAD, Altium, et cetera, et cetera. The footprint, the symbol, and a 3D model, which is pretty cool because then you can use it especially if you're making something really small, you're probably going to have to, make sure that the height and size of your module doesn't interfere with any other component. Like I said, the layout is super simple. You can do it on a 2-layer design fairly easily on a circuit board. I would go with a 2-ounce copper if you can. I think I do for the little breakouts just because, it's a fair amount of current. You just have to provide power in and then ground. There's sometimes a couple other extra pins, like PG for power good if you want to have an external LED, or I think there's also maybe a pin you can change the mode for the buck converter if you want to go from like a high current load to a low current mode for low quiescent usage. And one of the things that, because this is it's all integrated. It's really tiny, and I'll show in the overhead how small it is. It's fairly small and very thin. So the way they do that is, of course, they have a very small inductor, because usually the inductor is like the biggest part of your buck or boost converter, not the chip. The chip is trivial in size. It's the inductor that has to be big. So to make it big, they have to have a very high frequency for the PWM run rate, which is I think like 1-ish megahertz, maybe up to 1.5 megahertz, maybe 2 megahertz. So the higher the frequency, the smaller the inductor, because the smaller the inductance you need for the rated current. However, that also does affect efficiency. So you'll note that it's not bad efficiency. You can get fairly good over 90% efficiency, but you're not going to get like the absolute highest you could get if you're willing to go down to like 400 kilohertz or 500 kilohertz or 750 on some chips I've seen. And have a really big inductor. That's the trade-off. Personally, I've had no issue with this trade-off, especially if you're not running off a battery, or if your battery's big enough that the efficiency isn't going to affect you highly. So for that use case, I don't have an issue, but just be aware, like, it is a higher frequency chip, so the efficiency won't be as high. There's a wide family available of up to like 60 amp modules from different voltage input ranges. The bigger the module, the higher the voltage input range, the higher the current output, the larger the module. But you can get as small as the, the NPM 3811 is 2 by 2 by 1.6 millimeters. So the family we're talking about here is that I've used is the 3610 and 3620. So it's 3 by 5 by 1.6 millimeters. So let's look at the overhead real fast and we'll show it in stock. So this is actually the Power BFF, which is actually the product of the week. So you'll see I wanted to make a board where it was a DC-DC converter from this 12-volt DC jack or terminal block and 5-volt output at 1.2 amps. And to do that, I had to make it this small. Like the board size was fixed because it had to fit like so. Hold on. Sure, plug it in. It had to fit in this like 0.7 by 1 inch size. And so it turned out that actually I didn't even have the size to put an inductor and a DC converter. And the only way I could make this all work out is to use one of the NPM 3610s, or I'll probably make another version now with the 3510. And then you can see the bulk capacitance and then tiny, tiny little resistor over there that's used to make the resistor divider. And then there's an enable pin that you can use to for really low power usage. You shut off the buck converter altogether using these two pads over here. So I use this series of modules all the time. I'm really psyched that they have the 3510 because the only downside of the 3610 is it had that 20-volt max. And I really wanted to have people be able to use it with up to 24 volts. So I'm going to probably revise this design to use the 3510. And the good news is that it's in stock. So I can do that. Pick them up at DigiKey for a couple bucks, 3510, but then check out the entire family. If you want something very small and very fast, kind of can't beat this series of modules from NPM.
Oh, we have a video.
The electronics industry is evolving, and these changes will have a big effect on the power design market. Design solutions can now be integrated into one package, pre-optimized by MPS engineers. MPS power modules integrate the maximum number of components, including the power IC and inductor, while still providing comprehensive flexibility for the designer to tailor to the needs of the application. This provides an even more distinct leap in cost effectiveness and the highest performance over both discrete designs and other modules on the market. MPS modules create incredible space savings in industry-standard packaging. Full integration allows for easy board design and layout, which translates into faster time to market. The MPS power module family offers wide input voltage operation ranges between 2.3 volts and 75 volts, with 0.6 amps to 800 amps of output current, composing the most extensive portfolio of modules on the market. Simplify and accelerate the power design process with MPS power modules.
Power on NPI.
All right, we're gonna roll into new products in just a second. Don't forget the code is Power BFF. Ladyada, it's time. Okay, first up.
Okay, we've got a revision to our very popular NAU 7802. This is a strain gauge analog digital converter chip. And it was STEMMA QT compatible, and it's wonderful for sensing, strain gauges, but also anything with a Wheatstone bridge. The one thing that I didn't have was pre-soldered in terminal blocks, which it now does. So now it's truly plug and play. You don't have to do any soldering whatsoever because it comes with those lovely terminal blocks pre-attached. You just use a little screwdriver, open them up, and wire in whatever Wheatstone bridge you want, and you're ready to rock. So a nice little improvement. I think people will like it because STEMMA QT is meant to be plug and play. Speaking of making stuff more plug and play, another thing that is now fully pre-assembled is we've got the STEMMA rotary encoder, I2C seesaw module. You want to use a rotary encoder or multiple rotary encoders, and you don't want to deal with the frustration of timers and checking interrupts and like multiple pins, and then you ran out of pins and whatever. These are chainable I2C rotary encoder backpacks that allow you to read the switch and the rotary value, like, if it's rotating freely, it can increment or decrement the value, and you can chain them. You have multiple encoders built in. The one thing about this was you had to solder in the encoder, but no longer. We do not live in a world like that. We now live in a world where the encoder comes soldered in already for you.
Is this the multiverse?
Yeah, this is this is the multiverse of rotary encoders. No, because it's like the whole point of WQT was to make it so people can plug and play stuff. So people have been asking us, when are you going to have a version with the encoder plugged in? So the only trade-off is you don't get to pick the encoder. We pick it. It's a PEC 11 compatible with a switch. I would tell people, if you have a special rotary encoder you want with more or less detents or whatever, this is, I think, 24 detents per rotation, and there's a detent field. But if you want non-detent field, you want 12. Just grab the version that doesn't have the encoder soldered in. It's soldered in. Another thing is it doesn't come with a knob. We sell a knob for like a couple cents. Pick one up.
Or a human hand.
Or you can actually rotate it without the
feather.
Well, yeah, it doesn't come with the
We have to show these things as a demo.
Is this a great demo?
But sometimes the things in the video, like human hands, aren't included in your package, because if we started sending out human hands in the mail, we'd probably get a visit.
I can get you a tow by like Friday.
I can get a tow by 10 p.m. tonight if I wanted to.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, next up.
Next up, we got a 12-pack of black linear Kale switches. We got these for a special kit we made with the macro pad. We had a bunch left over. If you have a macro pad, which has 12 buttons, because it's a 3x4 grid, and you're like, I don't want the red, the red linears, I want the black linears. Congratulations, you can now pick up a pack of these black linears. We have them in a 10-pack as well if you don't want 12. But like, I always felt bad. People were like, I have a macro pad, I need 12, but you only sell them packs of 10, 6 hot dog buns, 8 hot dogs. I don't know. Now we have a 12-pack.
Okay. Next up.
Today we got from Pimoroni their new NVMe base. Very exciting. I know that there's been a lot of people making these PCIe to M2 adapters. I have not designed one yet. Maybe I will one day. But for now, pick up this one from Pimoroni. They did a beautiful job. It goes under your Raspberry Pi 5. Does not work with any other, only works with the Pi 5 because it has that PCIe port. And then with a little noodly cable, you connect it up, and then you can plug in an SSD drive, which is apparently like 8 times faster than the micro SD card. Like it's an SSD, it's really fast, and it goes over the differential PCIe port. So really great if you want to make a network storage, streaming, something, data logging, video playback, and you want faster speed than even, an Evo Pro micro SD card. The NVMe base is your way at SSD.
Okay, the start of the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our team, our community, our customers, everyone who helps make the world a better place through showing and sharing all their smarts, this open source world, at least parts of it, is this.
Yes, it's the Power BFF. This is coming soon. We didn't quite get all of the demos in, but I thought we would at least highlight it. People could sign up to chat about this on INPI. But this is a board that lets you have 5 to 12 volts DC input, and it will let you plug in your SHA or QT Py board on top. You also have a terminal block, which you can use to get that power out, or you can have power come in from the terminal block if you have a battery pack. And it features the NPM 3610. So it's a DC-DC buck converter. So it's very efficient, and it'll give you a nice clean 5-volt, 1.2 amps out. I'll be honest, I actually got 1.5 amps out when I did my load testing, but it's rated for 1.2. And then there's little mounting tabs, because if you're going to plug it into a DC jack, you want to have some mechanical strength. So the version you'll get in the shop, you see has these 4 little mounting hole legs, and you can break them off if you want it to be more compact. And then I'll show just the prototype real fast. And next week we'll have like a bigger, better demo. But this is my prototype before I added the legs. You can just plug into the DC power here. Maybe I can plug in here. See if this will work. And then boom, now it's running CircuitPython. It's blinking. Oh, focus. Yeah. And you can do like this is, I think, a 9-volt. But we want to do some projects where we wanted to power the cutie pie from like a car or from a DC or battery pack where you wouldn't necessarily get 5 volt clean. So this will convert it down to 5 volts for you. So it's coming soon. You can sign up and we'll have it in the shop maybe later in this week.
And that's some products.
New.
All right, and thanks for the folks who are lining up your questions in Discord. We're going to get to those just in a few moments. We're going to do some top secret, and Lady is going to talk about that. So let's do top secret, and then we'll start doing some questions, and we're out of here. Okay, this week's top secret video, I'm going to zoom in and zoom out of it, but maybe you can talk about what's going on. This is from the Memento camera.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Brent, and he does a lot of IoT stuff. And one thing he was really interested in is the ESP32S3 apparently has the ability to do like facial recognition built in, using, you know, like the core and RISC-V, RISC-V coprocessor or something, or maybe like the second core on the S3. And so, unfortunately, it's Arduino only. It's not CircuitPython. But Brent was able to compile his code. The demo worked on like a web browser, but he got it working so that it works live on the Memento. So as it's previewing through the camera, it can detect if you see a face, and it can detect a particular face as well. So you can like say, "Hey, recognize my face in the future," and it does like a fair job of saying like, "Oh yeah, I detected Brent again." So we're gonna have this. I think it just got working like this morning. We're gonna write up a guide for it, and it's coming soon.
All right, and that's our top secret for the week, but I wanted to show this one off and have Lady talk about it because I was like, this is really cool. Brent made a video. I'm like, we're going to show this off.
Yeah.
That's top secret. Okay, we're going to roll right into questions. We have a bunch lined up. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Put some in there. Okay, hi there. Any recommended resources for designing ESP32 boards? Things like ESD protection, USB voltage regulation to 3.3 volt, etc. Using DevKit schematic as a reference, but curious if there is anything more comprehensive.
Yeah, the dev kit schematics are very good. I'll say there's one thing about ESP boards that, you know, because I follow the application guides or the data sheets, is you just have to watch out that there's a lot of pins that are special, and you don't know what pins are special because they don't really call them out that well. So some pins are not actually available because they're used as like the PSRAM chip select, or if you're using octal PSRAM, like those pins are used, or some have internal pull-ups and you can't have them pulled low or pulled high during boot. So I think, you know, honestly, the modules themselves are, as long as you provide them fairly good power, like they kind of run on their own. That's not the tough part. The tough part is making sure that you don't accidentally use pins for capabilities that they should not be used for. Also, like some pins are inputs only and they're not outputs, and some you can't use the ADC when the Wi-Fi is on. So there's a lot of these like edge cases, and I don't know of a place where they're all documented. You kind of have to figure it out on your own. They're in the data sheet, but they're just not always where the schematic is at. It's like
Okay.
in a separate section.
Good advice. For our two-factor authentication, someone says we use, if you use Authy, it's dead simple. Thank you.
I love Authy.
Good. Thank you for letting everyone know. It is super easy, and you should do
It's
it.
better than SMS.
Next up, is there a timeline for the Adafruit Memento camera enclosure kit? I'm so nervous that since the TFT isn't, on there, super secure, I'd like to make a cover, but I'm not that good with a router.
That's on me. I was actually going to work on it this week and I did not get to it, but I'll try to get it in before the beginning.
The other thing you could do is look at the Learn Guide that Noah and Pedro did, and they have a 3D printed case, and you can
there's 3D model services.
You can send it online, or you can go to a local maker hackerspace. Lots of different choices, but if you're interested in doing that, often with these 3D printing services, unless you have something very specific that you know that works, you're probably reluctant to do it, but this does. This could be one you could try. Okay, what's the point of the orange stickers on the standoffs? So through the manufacturing footage that we did, what are those little orange stickers for?
Oh, that's a great question. Those are the pick and place pickup stickers. So when you have something like a standoff that's hollow and you have to pick it up with a vacuum, think about it, hollow stuff and vacuums don't usually like go together very well, because the vacuum pickup goes and tries to pick it up and the air just sucks right through. So you have to have something that is flat and clean, but removable easily, that the vacuum head can grab onto it and pick it up, but then later can be easily removed. And so you'll often see little Kapton stickers. Also on USB ports, you'll see them on the top because there's little slots and holes or HDMI connectors. You'll see little Kapton pickup tape.
Okay.
On some connectors, you'll see a little plastic cap.
Here's a request: a NVMe hat that also allows you to add stemma and iSpy.
It's not a bad idea. So I'll be honest, like I didn't design an NVMe or SSD add-on because like kind of like everyone was doing it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let everyone like do their thing because I was like, there's just like way too many cooks. I think that the Pimoroni one is really good. I mean, like absolutely grab it. It goes on the bottom. And I also know that Raspberry Pi themselves are making NVMe hat. But yeah, if it makes sense, I mean, it's honestly the circuitry is not terribly complicated. It's like mostly a pass through, and I think you need a power supply and some protection circuitry. Not that it's trivial. It's just not like you're not designing PCIe from scratch. I might design a hat later. I don't have any plans right now though.
Okay.
There's a lot of coverage.
All right. Next up, if you were put in charge of the next espressive chip and a team of pros at your fingertips, what would you want to have?
I think lower power Bluetooth is pretty key. That's one of the things that makes not like sad, but it's like I would really love if they had the low power that Nordic has for the Bluetooth, which is hard to compete with because they're pros. Versus the ESP, which has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but the Bluetooth traditionally has not been very low power.
Okay.
Wi-Fi the low power in general on the ESP32 is really really good. It's excellent, but once you turn on Bluetooth, it's like the power skyrockets a little bit.
All right. Tell me if all these things are in one chip or different ones. HDMI, USB, BLE, Wi-Fi.
There's nothing that has BLE and Wi-Fi built
Okay.
in as well as HDMI and USB. There's
That's
a
what I
couple
want.
things that can
That's what I
do.
want.
Yeah, you can do a couple. I'll say that I think the P4 it might have DSI out. I don't know that the P4 has Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? So they're kind of like,
Yeah.
let's do this extremely like high GPIO chip, but it doesn't have Wi-Fi built in. And I'm assuming later that they'll add it. I mean, they added native USB. That was a big request, and they did it. So like.
And here's another request. This is outside my pay grade though. Would it be possible one day for Espressive or any chip maker to have either silicon or some type of emulation to do like x86, so you could get like all of the stuff from the past, like DOS running natively on inside or one of these things?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I think there are some chips that I've seen that have like FPGA, like you can have an FPGA and a microcontroller built in, and that's where you would have that. You'd have the FPGA run your x86 emulator. I think more likely though is I've seen like almost true to form Commodore 64 emulators or Apple II emulators, just because they're slow enough that even a microcontroller can now emulate them. Like I remember the TC was.
I feel like it's time, right? Like, and you get that entire library of software.
Sorry, there is TAC did get an x86 emulator going on the ESP32, but it was just very slow. We actually had to boot Windows 3.1, or Windows 1.
HDMI out, and you had USB, because then you get a keyboard, and then you get all that, and then it's like a microcontroller. That can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's coming. I think like the INPI from last week, we talked about the STM series of chips that was it's a pretty good processor, and it has a DSI output and a lot of. The secret is you have to need a lot of RAM. So this one has like 3 megabytes of RAM. So now you're actually talking about like a true computer.
Okay, next up, I think this is a request: Feather Wing Proto with Stemma QT port for use with radio module feathers, or is there another easy way to add a Stemma QT port?
We do have Spark actually makes a quick feather wing that we stock, and they did a good job, so to stock it.
Okay.
And it gives you 4 Stemma QT quick connectors.
Okay, as shown in the top secret with the Memento being able to detect the face, thought on i5 being used with Adafruit IO for user level notifications, maybe learning guide as well. Thanks to all the things in Adafruit IO.
There'll definitely be a guide. I'll let Brent know that you want it to integrate with Adafruit IO. I don't know if that was going to be. He's doing a guide with Adafruit IO and the camera, but I don't know if it's going to be this one. I don't know. Brent.
Okay.
It's a mystery, but he does his great.
Is there such thing as wireless HDMI DVI?
There is, but what it does is you have a cable going into like basically a little Linux computer that then grabs the HDMI and then converts it to like Wi-Fi and then streams the signal over Wi-Fi to another device, and then it pumps out HDMI. So you can get wireless HDMI kits, but they do compression between. So you're not gonna, it's not a pure signal, right? Because there's no way to get that bandwidth over Wi-Fi. So instead, it's compressed video streaming, and there is some lag as well.
Okay, and then some folks are talking about the ESP32S3 could do some of the HDMI PMODs from 1 bit squared.
Yes, you could do you can do TTL to HDMI, but it's like just use all your pins, and kind of sucks. Like it would be great if it had a better built-in peripheral, and I think the S3 like it can do video as the RP2040 can, but it's like you really need a lot of RAM. And if you don't have a lot of RAM, and I'm not talking about PS RAM, I mean like ideally even like separately banked RAM that's like you can use just as your frame buffer. Doing it over octal PS RAM, we've found it's very hard to get good update rates.
Have memsistors become a additional solid state component?
I don't know.
Do you use memsistors?
I do not use memsistors.
So not in the desk of Ladyada yet.
I think I saw one product that had a memsistor in it, but I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't remember.
What's the difference between that and like space RAM?
Space RAM is just like FRAM, so it's
Hidden RAM that can go in space.
yeah. It's basically it's just not affected by the radiation in space, whereas memsistors are like it's a device that can change its resistance. It can save its resistance. You can
Yeah.
set and change it with voltage and current. But because we got capacitors, inductors, and resistors, this would be like
So they combine the words memory and resistor.
oh yeah. I mean, I think conceptually got like it working like a decade ago, but I don't know that's actually been used.
Going to turn it into a.
I'll admit I'm not 100% like a memsistor pro. I could have gotten that wrong.
Okay, someone in chat might.
Yeah.
Understand. Okay.
I can't wait for
And
like the like
with that,
memsistor fail. Ladyada does not
Yeah.
understand memsistors.
with that is our questions.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody.
all right, that is our show for tonight, everyone. Thank you so much. I have a little bit of housekeeping here. Power BFF is the code. Don't forget, there's all these free things you can get added to your cart. We'll do one more question that just came in at the last second, since we have like 1 more minute. We got a hug report for making the analog switch and 12-volt boost for the Work at 18 Maker Sense bill. And then where do you normally get your symbols and footprints for PCB designs, or do you?
Tend to make them myself.
Yeah.
Although, like I mentioned, DigiKey now has this EDA download. I'll admit I take those and I tweak them because the footprints are usually fairly good. The symbols don't look the way I like. I like symbols to be ordered a certain way, and there's no way they're gonna get those perfect. They usually do it, I think, in logical order, and I like it not logical, but like a numeric order, pin order, and I prefer to do it in I prefer to group like all the grounds together and have one pin instead of having like ground 1, ground 2, ground 3. And also I like to have like, the ports and the enables and settings in different little chunky groups.
Okay. Well, that's everything for tonight. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, whether it be live or watching it somewhere else later. We very much appreciate it. Once again, the code is PowerBFF. It's
Thank you for your support, everybody.
open source hardware company.
We're not IPOing,
Not anytime soon.
so we could use the help.
This has been Adafruit Production. Here is your moment of Zener.
Good night, everybody.